All right, we're starting. Just air raid. Sorry, we've got to get into this. Sam has just made an admission off air. I couldn't wait any longer. We had to start. Can you just take into the listeners into what you've just said off air?
No.
Last week we had a debate around Christian Petrarca's foot skills. I said there was a little bit to be desired there. Sam said he was one of the elite ball users of the competition. I put into the group chat.
Both of those things are wrong. You said that he was a butcher. You said that
I never said that.
You said that you basically played in a white smock. And I said that I thought he was an okay kick. Look,
I sent a stat through last week when they were playing. He was going at 16% by foot during the third quarter.
Yeah, look, it has been put to me by some Melbourne people that you were on the right side of the argument and I was wrong.
All right, let's see where Beau McCreary ends up in his career.
Yeah.
Kick us off, Sam. Air raid siren for round 17.
So I just need to do a few. I need to put a bit of context around this before I sort of dive in. Firstly, I've now just been informed that he's one of your best mates. So I know that you love Tom Lynch.
Not in the slightest are we best mates.
And I have
I think
also,
he deserved every one of those 5 weeks.
I have also in the last few years, been lucky enough to have a little bit to do with Tom. And he's one of the nicer people you'll ever come across. He really is. And so I don't want this to be about Tom personally. This is more about the AFL and its system. So for so many years, Andrew Dillon and also Laura Kane, from a legal perspective, have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to protect the game from concussion. And I think it's been a lot of, to use a football parlance, a lot of unrewarded running, right? The NRL are way behind in this. They don't care about concussion nearly as much as the AFL do. The AFL have actually been changing the rules of the game to try to stop head injuries. And whilst I don't agree with absolutely all of it, I think that they can only be applauded for that.
But
I think Tuesday night was a step in the wrong direction about them claiming to care about concussion as much as they do. Now, Tom's been an amazing player for a long time. He's also been an amazing leader for a long time. He was a captain of the Gold Coast Suns. He's been an on-field type of captain for the Richmond Football Club and loved by all of his teammates. But what happened on the weekend was not just wrong, it was really dangerous. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you can dismiss certain parts of it. And yeah, you can say that it didn't get him flush and, that Lynch was just trying to shrug him or that, like he can't actually close his hand into a full fist because his middle finger doesn't bend. You can make all of those arguments, but in the end, someone's punched someone in the back of the head off the ball.
Oh, yeah. He deserved every one of the 5 weeks. Or do you think it should have been more?
I think 5's really low.
Okay.
When I first saw it, again, I was potentially mid-hallucination. So, and then the news came on, and it was either you or Theo that said 3 or started at 3 or something like that.
So I came on the news that night and said under the severe grading it would be high impact or elevated on potential to cause injury to 4 as a starting point for the tribunal.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not there to give my opinion on the news.
No, I know.
But that's under the matrix that the AFL provide.
Yeah, and I think Jared Healy said 4 and a couple of other people said 3 and I was just like, what? I must be missing something here. I went back. So Barry Hall got 7 and that was in 2005.
Yeah.
Now, his hit on Staker was more vicious. It was further away from the ball and Staker was really badly hurt. But we knew nothing about concussion in 2005. Like nothing. It wasn't even talked about.
Yeah.
Like blokes used to get their face rearranged, would lie on the ground for 10 minutes and then would come on in the next quarter.
What did Gaff get for Brayshaw's hit? Was it 8?
Was it 8?
It was 8 or 10.
I reckon it was 8. Let's have a look.
I think it was 8 as well. So I just thought, given everything that's happened, given
8 weeks for Gaff.
Given that blokes are getting 3 weeks for sling tackles, that end up with guys hitting their head on the ground. I thought the AFL had a poor week, to be honest. Now, I know that 5 will be seen as harsh, and then I've read some articles recently that, the AFL should be lauded for taking such a tough stance. I don't think it's a tough stance at all. I thought the minimum message that the AFL should have sent was making sure that Tom didn't play again this year.
Okay.
And that's 8.
I think had he have knocked out or injured Jordan Butts, so I think there's got to be something to be said about that.
No,
I know.
I totally agree. I totally agree. The action has to have some impact on it, because if you go into a bar and you throw a punch and the punch misses, well, you get nothing. But if the punch hits and kills someone, you go to jail for 25 years. I get all of that.
This is not me defending.
I know you're not defending him, and I know it's all context. But, Mitch, some things are so bad that the action almost has – the result almost has to be taken out of it. So if you get in a car and put your foot down to the floor and at 3 a.m. in the morning drive through a red light doing 250k an hour, but because it's 3 in the morning, no one's there, so it's fine, right? But if you get caught doing 250k an hour, you're not let in a car for the next 2 years, because what you were doing was so outrageous that even though you didn't hurt anyone, it was, we still have to take your keys off you. Like, sometimes the action is so diabolically bad. And again, I'm not casting aspersions about Tom's character. We know it was a build-up of frustration when he's explained it, and I think he did really well to get on the front foot and talk to 7 News about it.
Oh, I'm not. I just want to make my point clear. That's not me saying that Tom should have had weeks off because he came out and spoke.
Yeah.
That's purely just the fact that I think we've taken a step forward in the media side of things. That's got nothing to do with what he got on Tuesday night.
I just think for the mountain of work that the league has done to tell the world about how seriously it's taking concussion, to only give that guy 5 weeks, I thought was a step in the wrong direction.
For me, I reckon there needs to be more parameters written into the matrix.
You're probably right.
On the face value of what we saw on Sunday night, when you look at the matrix, it's probably 3 matches. It's Butts is not concussed, so it's probably medium impact up to high. But because of the action, I can understand why it got to severe. But Butts didn't spend a minute off the ground after that hit. Yes, it was a wild swinging action, and that brings in the intentional conduct. It was high. But I would love to see a world where, non-footy actions adds 50% loading. So if it was meant to be 4, add 50%, we get to 6 or something like that. I just think under the current system that there's too much wiggle room on these sort of things. It's not enough. So it's not enough black and white.
Let me ask you this: if Butts had been concussed, knocked out cold before he hit the ground, and was taken off in a stretcher with a neck brace on,
8-9 minimum.
Yeah, that's where I think the game lets itself down.
Yeah. I think there needs to be something said, though, for whether a player's concussed or not. Lynch's incredibly lucky he wasn't.
I totally agree, but I'm saying for instances where the action is so bad, I think that the result almost needs to be taken out of it.
And that's where with Curtis, and it's a good example you could compare, he gets 3 matches for concussing Josh Sinn in that tackle. I'd love to see 50% the other way, where you take 50% off that and he only misses maybe 1 or 2 games in future.
Anyway, that's my error.
I was going to do something on injuries and repeat injuries in AFL, but now we're on this MRO. I've been a bit worked up over it. So I was thinking yesterday about the introduction of a mid-season umpire contact rule the AFL has brought in. Mm-hmm. So for players that get 4 umpire contact sanctions in the space of 2 years, they can now be referred directly to the tribunal.
Oh boy.
1, mid-season, why are we introducing this with 8 weeks left? So if this was introduced at the start of the year, maybe Matt Rowell might have taken a little bit more, caution, care around stoppages if he knew matches are on the line or Brownlow was up for grabs. Why are we introducing this now? Why couldn't it have waited 8 weeks? Mm. And also, have we not got enough grey in the game? So under the memo the AFL sent out yesterday to clubs and media off the back of this, if there's 4 in the space of 2 years, the player can be potentially sent directly to the tribunal. So that leaves it open to interpretation. And the player can either be hit with a further fine or potentially suspension. So are we going to see examples? Are we going to see a grading system? What's the difference between one umpire contact and the next? If it gets to prelim week and and the Gold Coast Suns are about to play in their first ever grand final, probably unlikely, but let's just use it as an example. Suns have had a big win.
Yeah.
Matt Rowe's sitting on 4, and he makes contact with an umpire at a stoppage in the last 5 minutes of the game, and that gets sent to the tribunal. Yeah. What's the difference between that being a $10,000 fine or a week suspension?
It's a great point.
We're creating more grey in the game, and I just think we should have waited to the end of the year, wait for Greg Swan and Tom Harley to come in and do a proper review and proper. I completely understand the umpires feel vulnerable out there. I do appreciate that, and that's why the AFL has come down harder on players being sanctioned. But another 8 weeks with games and matches on the line and potentially Brownlows, I think we could have waited a bit longer.
Yeah, there's also, I know this is a cynical view, but there's another layer to this, which is the game has done such a poor job of supporting its umpires for so long now that this is just a meaningless. Oh, I'm here to support you boys. Don't worry, we've got your back.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this.
I do appreciate because there's been 63 sanctions this year, up from 50 last year.
Yeah, but to your point,
we're only 2/3 of the way through the year.
Just wait to the end.
Just wait to the end of the year.
There's no point doing it now.
Players hate being fined, so that's going to hurt them a little bit. But you can't just add this in mid-year, can you? And then when it gets to the tribunal, if it's round 17 and it happens, they might cop a week. But how is that going to be possible? We shouldn't be creating more grey in the game. We should be trying to remove it.
Mm. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I like when Mitch fires up.
That's the air raid. Don't forget to download the pod, tune in throughout the week, follow us on TikTok and Instagram to get involved in the conversation. We'll be back next week in our normal slot, Tuesday morning for a Tuesday Arvo drop. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening to Tradies.